Excellent. Okay, welcome everyone to our travel to Costa Rica online event. We're going to talk a lot about Costa Rica in general and a little snapshot of the country, the geography, different regions, some of the highlights. And then we're going to dive into details of an amazing upcoming retreat that we're offering in Costa Rica this June. And we're going to go into a little bit about Traverse Journeys and ourselves as well. So at the end of today's event, you'll have a chance to answer or to ask questions as well. And be sure to stick around till the end because you'll find out the details for a really great discount that we're offering for anyone joining us today. So that will lead us into getting going here. So first thing, just to introduce ourselves, my name is Laura Ham. I'm the co-owner of Traverse Journeys, and I also am the lead for all of our Costa Rica itineraries and trips. So we have this retreat itinerary. We also have another more adventure itinerary in Costa Rica, and then self-guided options in which you can come without a guide and pick your dates, and we'll sort of customize and tweak the itinerary to suit you. And I live in Costa Rica as well. So I've been here in the Southern Pacific region for about 2 years, but I also lived in Guanacaste in the Northwest for 3 years, about 10 years ago. And I lived in the cloud forest near Monteverde for like 5 or 6 months as well. And I've traveled all over Costa Rica throughout the years. So a good bit of Costa Rica knowledge, and I'm excited to share with you. Clementine, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, we'd love to if my computer doesn't keep coming in and out. I was like, Okay, yes. Well, I'm Clementine or Clementine, whatever is easier for you. I'm from France originally, some Italian origins as well. And I moved to Costa Rica around 3 years ago. And I started in Santa Teresa and quickly made it to this area, and I haven't left since. I absolutely love this region of Evita and Bahia Belena, and yeah. And yeah, on regarding more what I'm offering, I'm a breathwork facilitator, ecstatic dance DJ. I do transformational retreats. I host psychedelic retreats as well. So yeah, big on the space holding and allowing people to share vulnerability and transforming through that. So that's my passion. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're super excited to be collaborating with you. It's definitely a match made in heaven. Hopefully you'll feel the same, folks that are here. And let's dive into first just an overview briefly of Traverse Journeys and what we're about. So Traverse Journeys has been around for about 7-8 years now. We survived the pandemic and are still going strong. And it's helmed by a fantastic team of women that are sort of globetrotters ourselves, from, mostly from the States, but living all over the world and have lived in many places throughout the world, and are just really passionate about helping people travel in unique, immersive, transformational ways. So our tagline and motto is People, Planet, Purpose. And that's kind of the guiding lights that sort of, guide us in terms of how we plan our trips and what we want to offer. So with that, we have people, which to us speaks to how we prioritize people-to-people experiences on our trips. We like our guests to make sure they have local cultural touch points through, working with local guides and, just having experiences within the country beyond just being surrounded by tourism and tourists, where you have unique experiences and understand more about the culture and history and, lifestyle of that country through people-to-people experiences. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those that we have coming up on this trip. Planet is the other second tier or second bucket that basically means that we focus on, choosing really incredible, beautiful, amazing places that, are very desirable to travel to, but yet also are in a place of where there's balance on the environmental impact of tourism and of the trip. So, we seek to avoid, over tourism and, high season months when, the local economy is already, and the local environment is already getting stressed enough. So we also look at, our hotels and accommodations and restaurants and activity partners in terms of environmental impact, and always seek to, minimize and or create a positive impact on the planet as we enjoy and explore it, so that it's around for many more generations to enjoy and explore. And then purpose, in the sense that we look at travel as not just, a checklist of places to see and, things to do, but really what the experience of travel can be, and how it can offer, transformation and inspiration and education and learning, and the impact that travel has not only on the traveler, but also, again, on the culture and the environment that we travel to. So one of the things that we do that's a big part of this is that we partner with a local NGO or nonprofit organization in each country that we travel to. And we donate a portion of sales to that nonprofit organization, and engage with them as well during the itinerary to learn about what they do and to see hands-on, like, where that donation is going. And it also offers like a really beautiful insight sometimes into the, the country that a typical tourist experience might not. So, and lots more that we infuse into the trip in terms of, maintaining a purposeful idea to travel. So that's a little bit about Traverse Journeys. And then just to dive right into to Costa Rica. So the basic snapshot overview here, Costa Rica is in Central America. It's nestled between Nicaragua to the north, Panama to the south. It's bordered by both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. The capital is San Jose, which is very much in the middle of the country. The population of the country is just over 5 million, about half of which are in San Jose, I believe, más o menos, more or less. And the local language is Spanish. There's a lot of slang used within the Spanish, so it can be difficult even for native Spanish speakers sometimes, with the slang involved. But English is also very commonly used throughout Costa Rica, especially in tourism areas or when dealing with tourism, vendors, accommodations, and things like that. So it's quite easy for tourists to get by with English, although it's always appreciated when you make an effort to learn and use some Spanish. The currency in Costa Rica is called colones. It's a really beautiful currency. There's lots of colors and animals on the notes. And dollars are also used, which is a bit of a unique and interesting thing, because even though the national currency is called colones, because tourism is such a part of Costa Rica's economy, and because a lot of that tourism is coming from North America, and the States in particular, dollars are widely accepted, again, especially in any sort of tourist areas. So, tourists will often, pay for a meal in dollars and receive colones in change. They're kind of just like used side by side in that sense. But I do always recommend, it's always best to have colones instead of dollars when possible, for especially like at markets and little local vendors and stuff like that, just because that way you're getting a good exchange rate through your bank or the ATM, rather than whatever exchange rate the vendor might be giving you. For bigger activities, and if you're booking a sailing trip or a scuba diving excursion, a lot of times those are actually priced in dollars, and you would pay in dollars for things like that. But for local vendors and markets and things like that, it's better to have colones. There are two international airports in Costa Rica. San Jose, in the middle of the country, of course, the capital city, is the biggest international airport. And then Liberia, which is up in the sort of northwest in this Guanacaste region, close to the Nicoya Peninsula. So that's kind of the gateway to Guanacaste and the beaches that are very popular around there. But for most of the rest of Costa Rica, San Jose is the airport that people would fly into. And we'll talk a little bit about where that is in relation to our trip. In general, Costa Rica is very much known as a nature destination. It's where people come to explore natural beauty and paradise. There's lots of different kinds of landscapes and there's rainforest, there's mountains, there's beaches, there's volcanoes, there's waterfalls and cloud forests, and the wildlife too, of course. Hand in hand with the nature is all the wildlife that is to be found within all the forests and lush green lands of Costa Rica. And then eco and adventure activities like zip lining, snorkeling, scuba diving, hiking, of course, and those kinds of activities. And just a brief snapshot in the history of Costa Rica. There was a large indigenous population for many thousands of years. And at this time, the indigenous population is around less than 2%, depending on what statistic you look at. So it's quite a very minimal portion of the current population. It was fairly wiped out by colonizers, mostly a lot of that due to disease spreading. So it was colonized by Spain in the 1500s. They gained independence in 1821 as part of a whole Central American independence from Spain. And then they became sovereign outside of the Central American Federation in 1838. Costa Rica was the economy and the kind of development of Costa Rica was very much based around coffee, growing coffee and exporting coffee for a few hundred years. One of the really unique things about Costa Rican's history is that they abolished their military and their army in 1949 after a short but bloody civil war. So Costa Rica for 70 some years now has had no military or standing army, which is quite a unique thing in the world. It's kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the culture that we'll touch on in a little bit. So in terms of when they abolished their army, it kind of set in place, that same government set in place a lot of priorities for Costa Rica. They were deforesting Costa Rica for many decades in the early part of the century. So it went from a large, wild forested land to down to 20%, 21% of forest remaining in the 80s. And they took note and did a lot to protect and preserve and replant and bring that number back up. So they've brought it back up now considerably, and it's quite a remarkable, unique thing that they were switched on enough to do. They also have an extremely high literacy rate of 98%, which for a developing country is very impressive, and that's because a lot of priority is put on education. They are, depending on the year in the article you read, they're pretty much almost close to, if not 100%, renewable energy for the grid. Now, of course, gasoline-powered vehicles are still used all around Costa Rica, so it's not that doesn't exist here, but in terms of the grid of Costa Rica, it is nearly or sometimes always 100% renewable energy powered. They elected their first female president way back in 2010, and they have also topped the Happy Planet Index 4 times, the #1 country in the world in the Happy Planet Index, which measures personal and cultural happiness as well as planetary impact. So they're they're doing well in terms of that. There's also, I forgot to put this, there's a blue zone in Costa Rica, which is places where there's the most centenarians, people who live to 100 or more. So the Nicoya Peninsula is one of the half dozen or so blue zones in the world, but the whole of Costa Rica in general has a very high life expectancy rate. And that is due to some of the things we'll touch on in the next slide. Clementine, you want to talk about some of the culture here?
Yes. Well, I see you put Pura Vida. Well, yes, it's very much a lifestyle, a motto that people commonly say. Yeah, because as soon as you come to Costa Rica, you relax, your body relax, your nervous system kind of calms down. You're like so surrounded of nature, that naturally things just slow down a little bit, and you eventually just feeling gratitude and happiness for what's happening around you. And everyone here is so friendly and approachable and really wants to help you. There's no taking. It's very just like, oh, how can we be in service? Which is wonderful, which I really love. Yeah, so Pura Vida is just like how it is, that kind of phrasing. Yeah, patience with Tico time. I like how you say, well, that's also something we would say Pura Vida for. If someone arrives like 15 minutes late, you're like, okay, yeah, Pura Vida. That kind of,
Yeah,
that's
Pura
how it
Vida,
goes.
it should be said, is used kind of like aloha is in Hawaii. It's used as like a greeting, hello, goodbye, thank you. Yeah, like Pura Vida, Pura Vida, Pura Vida.
That's it. Yeah, it's always, yes, exactly. Or when something's really good, it's like, oh, Pura Vida. Yeah.
Yeah, it has many meanings.
And yeah, I like to touch on what you mentioned with the blue zone. Well, food is really fresh and good here, and that was one of the main things for me to come and move to Costa Rica. Very big on food, and you can just feel it. Everything is so fresh, and what I want to say? Well, actually, about the food, they like the traditional foods, like beans and the tortillas, which are made with corn and rice. So the grain, the corn, and the bean actually are like these elements that were shown scientifically that it is one of the reasons why Costa Rica is a blue zone and why people live in that area, like lived for like years and years and years. Is like one of the big thing was like the diet and having those three things. And so one of like a typical breakfast of Costa Rica is that it has those three elements. Oh, and also, the water and everything else. But like I was actually kind of surprised to see that like the breakfast in Costa Rica is like what actually helps for like longevity. Longevity, is that how you say in English? Yeah, longevity. Yes, and we've got markets around here that are just, yeah, you just get everything fresh and you can feel and so it's very different to Europe sometimes. I mean, closer to France in that sense, like has the markets, which obviously was what I love. So yeah, and art and education, yes, really. Well, I guess there is culture, even though within like where we are, the culture is all related to nature. It's very much based on how to honor nature. And I want to grasp on like how, as a woman in Costa Rica, I feel so safe. And I felt like really honored as a woman, which was something that I was very surprised about. I kind of had assumptions about other countries that I've been in South America, where I thought, okay, there's going to be like big inequality. And actually, there's such a respect for the mother, and therefore, like for women in general. And on your slide, you put like they elected the woman president in 2010. It's like, yes, like there is this thing here. So yeah, education and art, music, a lot of music, which is wonderful. And cacao, well, yes, there is still people living in tribes in the mountains and beautifully collecting cacao. We have, I actually most of the time serve cacao from the Briwi tribe. And yes, so it's quite up in the mountains, and you can go and visit them. You can have like follow actually like the whole process of how then you get the cacao in your cup, which is fascinating. It takes a lot of time from like picking to roasting to peeling to grounding. Like it's a whole process. And yeah, connecting to like the ancestral knowledge, even plants, they know so much about, what you need for indigestion, what you need for a headache, what you need for your period, what you need. Like they just look at outside and then they will know, so that's something that I really, that I've never known where I come from. And so it's really beautiful to be able to share that and ask questions and learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all of these reasons and more is why Costa Rica is a really fantastic destination, more than many others, for the kind of retreat and the kind of transformational experience that we're curating. So yeah, if you want to take it away and talk a little bit about how all of that applies to a retreat experience.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah, I guess a retreat technically, like there's so many different types of retreats and whatever's calling you and wherever you are. I guess for me, Costa Rica is like such a special place because we go back to our roots. In the sense, like, I was talking about ancestral like knowledge and wisdom, and like this understanding that we are part of nature, that we are nature. And so that's also why you do get this feeling of home, in Costa Rica. A lot of people come here and enter this area and they're like, oh my God, I just feel like home. Like this, like you feel it in your body. Well, it's just because you're so surrounded of what you're made of. And so it is literally that. And so there is this is the idyllic environment for you to finally tap into, okay, what's my inner landscape? So there is this like amazing landscape that you would see around you, but what's actually happening in your inner landscape? And so I feel like Costa Rica really supports that, because you can connect to your senses, connect to the sound of the river, to the wind, to all the different types of birds that are around you. And yeah, there is just this sense of beingness, of presence, yeah, that takes you and in the culture of wellness that is obviously very big here for all those reasons. It supports transformation. It supports you tuning in into what you really want, or yeah, any kind of experiences that you've had in your life, how to heal that, how to put some love into that. This is what Costa Rica can help with. Obviously amazing guides. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a place that is kind of known, by a lot of people and throughout the world as a place of healing, a place where people come to heal, whether that's, physical ailments or just, mental and emotional stress and all of the nervous system, decline and things like that we experience in a lot of modern culture. Costa Rica is a great place to reset and reevaluate, yeah, how you're showing up. And the culture of wellness is, sorry, I was just gonna, the culture of wellness is interesting because there's the local Tico, foundation of knowledge and practice that, whether it's the plant medicine and kind of, yeah, looking to nature for healing, as well as, just kind of the Pura Vida lifestyle. And then on top of that, the expat and tourism culture has overlaid another layer. And so there's just like many wellness retreat centers and, about every healing modality you can dream up, is available. And yeah, there's just a lot of wellness focused lifestyle and mindset.
Yeah, I think on that, I just wanted to share that it is a hub because there is such, yeah, a movement, let's say. I think Costa Rica is a hub for this movement of rising consciousness in general. And so then you have Costa Ricans as well as like expats, as you said. And I feel like there's a high level of excellence, let's say, in these practices because there's so much of it. It's like, where is the progress? It's like the evolution is going quick, and there are things that happening here that I've never heard. Therapy and light therapy and all the things that from where I came from, I was like, okay, I don't know this at all. And so there is just a lot of evolution towards this. I find in Costa Rica, and therefore like putting everyone a bit in the checklist of like, oh, how good are you in your speciality. And I feel
Yeah.
like mm-hmm.
And it's easy to tap into, within a week-long experience, people within the first day, people are already feeling like the shifts, yeah, it's so present and ubiquitous. Okay, excellent. Well, let's continue. So we're gonna drill into a little bit of where our this retreat itinerary is. So looking at this general overview of the different regions, these are not the provinces of Costa Rica, like the governmental provinces are different. These are more the regions that we would speak about. So the Central Valley there, that's where San Jose and the capital city is. The Northern Pacific, that's where the Liberia Airport and Guanacaste is. Where this retreat is in the Southern Pacific zone, so in the bottom right there. So it's on the Pacific side and closest to Panama. And the southern zone includes like the Osa Peninsula, which is that peninsula you see there, which is one of the most biologically intense places on the planet, according to National Geographic, which basically means just that the biodiversity and wildlife is almost unparalleled. It's a very, very highly lush and alive region. There's much less development in the Southern Pacific than many other areas of Costa Rica. So there's a lot more wild, untouched nature. So it really draws in people looking for that. It's a little bit more off the beaten path. It does take about 3.5 to 4 hours to get there with a private transfer from San Jose Airport. It's a beautiful drive, and there's unique stops along the way, so it's all part of the experience. But yeah, there is no international airport near. And the main hubs in the Southern Pacific region, like the towns of Dominical, Uvita, Drake Bay, and Puerto Jimenez, they're all very small towns. Like none of these are cities really. So yeah, it's not a very populated area. There is a city called San Isidro, which is about an hour from the coast. And it is a larger, Costa Rican city. So that's kind of, a hub in that sense, but it's not very touristy. It doesn't draw a lot of tourists, San Isidro. And Manuel Antonio is kind of just a little bit north of the Southern Pacific region, but I put it in there because Manuel Antonio is one of the most popular national parks and places of interest in all of Costa Rica. So just to kind of place it where it's just a little south of Manuel Antonio, where the Southern Pacific region starts. And the highlights again is it's the nature, and the fact that the nature, unlike other regions in Costa Rica, the lush green forests and flowers and fruits are pretty much year round in the Southern Pacific zone, because of there's more rain and humidity in the Southern Pacific zone compared to other areas. So up in Guanacaste, for example, in the north, the driest province, between the months of December through May, it can be quite arid and dry and brown, like things really can get dead, they look dead and dried up and stuff like that. And that just doesn't happen in the Southern Pacific zone, even during the months where it isn't raining. There's still enough sort of stockpiled, that it stays lush and stays green year round. So that's a little bit about that. And to just dive in a little bit more, the Southern Pacific region, there's lots of mountainous areas, including Costa Rica's highest peak, which is Chiripo, is about an hour and a half inland. And we won't go there, but it's, just kind of keeping in mind that, yeah, some of the highest mountains in Costa Rica are quite close to the coast. And so often on the beaches and coastlines in this area, you're looking at this backdrop of, beautiful, forest covered peaks, right next to the coast. It is more humid and, there's a little adjustment period that first 24, 48 hours when you fly into Costa Rica sometimes. But that's, it contributes to all the lush green. The temperatures are still actually quite mild. It's not like a super hot place compared to, some of the hotter like Arizona or something like that. So upper 80s is pretty much year round. It's very rare that it goes sometimes into the lower 90s in the hottest months. And the nighttime lows are, usually in the 70s. So very, very pleasant year round. The hottest months of the year are sort of January through April when it's the driest season. So January through April is dry, very little rain. In this part of the world where we are in South Pacific, we might still get a scattered shower. We just had one a couple days ago. But, almost guaranteed dry, sunny days. And then the first rains start in like April, when the rainy season is returning, and they're quite sporadic for the first couple of months and then gradually increase in frequency up through September, October, November are the rainiest, wettest months of the year in this part of Costa Rica. And so our retreat, which is aimed for June, was chosen because it's away from those hot, super dry months. It's when the rains have started to return, so you have some cooling and some green, returning, even though the green never leaves. It's just a little bit more lush, but it's not like fully blown into the rainy season where you're getting large storms every day. So it's a really nice mix of a little bit of rain, and when it's tropical rain, it's actually quite a nice, pleasant experience to be out in the rain. It doesn't really dampen if you're out hiking or whatever. It's just like, oh, I can cool off a little bit with some rain. And that tells you a little bit more about the geography and climate of this region in particular. So Uvita, which is the town where the retreat center is located, kind of on the outskirts of. I'll let Clem dive into telling us a little bit more about Uvita.
Well, this is where I am right now. Okay, yes, Uvita. Well, as you said, not a big town, but it has plenty. It has, as we said, markets, lots of little restaurants, and actually where we will be, it's all kind of easy to walk to. And as the picture showed, we have this very special beach, which is the Welltail. And it's formed because you have the two currents actually meeting, and so this is what's creating this the sand moving in two opposite directions. So I think it's very, very beautiful. It's also a national park, so it's preserved, and we can go on the beach and enjoy that. And yes, lots of whale watching, which is actually super interesting. I can't remember what exactly the season is, but at that spot of the Welltail is also where whales come and mate, which I think is crazy. So yeah, and we have so many waterfalls, rivers, like just down the road here, I've got a secret, not so secret, not for the people that live here, waterfall, and you have to just cross a river, and then you have this beautiful waterfall. And it's like we have so many spots like this. And actually, this is super close to the place we're going to stay. I think we should go there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, to dive into some details and a bit more information about what all of our trips typically provide, and of course this one especially so. We always prioritize boutique, eco-friendly, and locally run accommodations, no chain hotels. We provide your in-country transportation. So while flights aren't included, you're pretty much taken care of from airport to airport. You know, we'll pick you up at the airport and take you around and then drop you off at the airport. We have a traverse host or local guide on every trip, and then a retreat leader for our retreat experiences. We always infuse the itinerary with immersive experiences, whether that's nature or people-to-people cultural experiences, and, you know, approach each experience in mindful, respectful, sustainable ways. We always prioritize local, seasonal, organic meals and restaurants and food. We have a give back to the local community through the nonprofit organization partnership. And we always create small group experiences. So typically the minimum on our trip is around 4 guests. And we often will get, you know, between 4 to 8 guests. So nice and really small. And our trips typically max out anywhere from 12 to 16 clients. So yeah, you're never going to be overwhelmed by a bus full of fellow guests or anything like that. And then, yeah, I think it's time to dive into some of the details of our retreat experience. So we'll just kind of quickly touch on these different aspects that we've infused into this retreat experience for you. The retreat center itself, which will be your home base for the whole week-long trip, is a beautiful, elegantly designed, like really thoughtfully designed space. It's quite a large property, and throughout the property, there are really like thoughtfully designed kind of nature nooks, places where you can sit comfortably and relax, either by the river or with the view of the forest, or just, you know, in the shade and the sun. There's places that are designed for the purpose of just sitting in nature and relaxing. There's a lovely pool. There's a large like yoga workshop deck. There's a beautiful communal kitchen and dining area. And there's also a river running alongside the property. So there's private river access, which is just a beautiful thing to be able to go take a dip in the fresh waters of Costa Rica. It's one of the other things Costa Rica is known for, and we're also lucky that live here to experience is just beautiful, fresh, clean water. There are many private suites and private rooms at the retreat center, so it's really easy for us to put every single participant into their own private room. And we encourage that because the private rooms are it's a beautiful experience. We do also offer the option to pay a little bit less for a shared room if you want to share with one other person. And this is, yeah, those are the options. Everything is all the rooms are en suite with your own bathroom and shower and everything. They're very spacious and, yeah, again, very well designed. The retreat center is kind of on the outskirts of town, which is nice. So it's kind of more immersed in nature, but it's very walkable to cafes and restaurants, waterfalls like Clementine mentioned, and, you know, little fruit stalls and things like that are all within walking distance. So the accommodations, you can see just some of the examples of the different rooms and suites available at the retreat center. Really beautiful, really well designed, and yeah, we're excited for people to enjoy and experience this kind of a bit of a luxe experience in Costa Rica. It's nice to get, you know, dirty and sweaty on a beautiful rainforest hike and then come back to a little bit of a lap of luxury. Yeah, we're infusing a lot of really wonderful practices and introductions to many different modalities in this retreat. So I'll let Clem talk about some of the really juicy things we got going on for you there.
Okay. Well, breathwork is definitely one of my biggest passion, and I'm very excited to be able to share this. There is so much benefits not only for your health, but also for your mental health and even your spiritual health, let's just say, your spiritual evolution. There is so much that happens within the breath. And so I do quite a few types of breath work, but I will introduce you to some that just simple regulating your nervous system. So it gives you tools that you can come home with whenever, after my classes, you will be more aware of your breathing patterns and understanding more about yourself from your breath. This is what I'm here to help you to do. So therefore, whenever you are tackling any situations, it's like you actually have a tool to change that and to modulate how you're feeling. So whenever you want to feel energized and you're not, I've got breathwork for that. If you're too active or, kind of like it's too hectic within your head and you need to ground, I've got breathwork for that. So I can talk about breathwork for hours and I'm not going to, I promise, sorry.
We'll
But
save
yes,
that for the break.
exactly. It improves sleep, detox the body. So we drain your lymphatic system. So it's like one of the best way to detox without really doing much except breathing in a particular way. And as I said, feeling energized, the gaining insights. So that will come more for the breathwork ceremony. That's the technique is a connected circular breath. So you breathe in and out through the mouth, and there is no pause between your inhale and your exhale. So that's why it's connected, it's circular. You enter this wave of the breath, of breathing. And after 5-10 minutes, you're forgetting that you're even doing this, and you enter a deep space of relaxation, meditative practice. And then there are, as we said, it's clearing so much within your head and your body. And so you might get insights on what you've actually been wanting to know, on what's next for you, or how to deal with an issue that you've been dealing with. So this is all. I'm all here to support. And yeah, setting intentions is very big. So everything that I do within breathwork, meditation, cacao ceremony, it's really putting this in place. Like one of the most transformative thing that you can do is act with intention. So we're going to practice this on like checking in into, okay, what's your intention for today, and intention can just be, oh, I just want to feel joy today, or I just want to feel, relaxed and clear-minded. Breath and meditation can help. So meditation can be difficult for people because it's like still sitting still, and they think that they need to be totally empty of thoughts. This is not truly what meditation is, and I will be very happy to guide you into some different techniques that I've learned. And yes, it's not going to be just sitting 45 minutes cross-legged, no talking, and try to empty your mind. Like, this can happen, and it does happen, but I imagine that people that probably will come to this might be already into it and want a little bit more techniques to get deeper into their practice. And the cacao we mentioned, so for me, cacao is something very special with Costa Rica, with the land. I'm very connected with the land. And my mission in life is all about how can I be more loving? How can I be more loving with myself, and how can I be more loving with others? And cacao is a heart opening medicine. And yeah, it'd be interesting. I think I would love to combine this with some dancing. So we'll have a cacao ceremony and maybe something creative, such as painting or dancing. So I think that's what we've, yeah.
Speaking of dancing.
Speaking of dancing, I love dancing. So this is how I ended up to be an ecstatic dance DJ.
So what is ecstatic dance?
What is ecstatic dance? Well, it's a meditative practice, meaning that you are free to move exactly as you want. So this can feel very freeing, but also bringing up a lot of judgment and limiting beliefs that you may hold. And that's the whole point of this practice, is that if you feel like, oh, there is resistance, like, oh, how do I look, etc. So in ecstatic dance, what I would do, I will guide you into some embodiment practice. Embodiment meaning that I will help you to get connected from the mind to the body. Okay, so the idea is not to just get like escaping the mind. It's actually like, how do we manage to connect the mind to the body and allowing to follow intuition movement, and how do we follow the rhythm? Okay, no one is looking how you're moving. No one's really looking at you anyway. It's like this, the whole point is for you to feel free to move exactly the way you want. And what ecstaticness can help to is to release emotion, to release stories, and yeah, to shed a bit things that we don't want to carry anymore, but not from a verbal perspective. So no talking, no substances, no alcohol on ecstatic dance. It's a very sober practice, and it's barefoot. So you're very much connected with the ground. And so for anyone that's new to this practice, that is amazing, I will be, fully guiding on how to get there. And then letting you be with the music. And you'll see there'll be moments when you want to be on your own, and you just maybe your eyes closed. And then there might be a moment you want to connect with others. And so we'll flow with that. We'll have fun. We'll have a lot of fun. And speaking of fun, creativity play shop, absolutely. Well, similar, it's all, in a very similar way. Okay, what's coming up when I think about creativity, when I think of what is, a musician or a painter, and how do you identify yourself or not identifying yourself with that? And do you allow yourself to not be always in the productive mode, but also allowing yourself to not be with your time schedule, allowing yourself to flow within what does it mean to have true fun, And one of the key thing is the time needs to, there's no sense of time. When you have true fun, there's no sense of time. There is deep connection with people and nature, and you're allowing yourself to express yourself. So connecting with your creativity, I will help you to, boost that, or even feel that within you, because we are full of it. We have so many ideas and so many ways of expressing ourselves. And actually one of the big things that also I will be leading is authentic relating.
Oh, it's looks like she froze.
Oh,
There you
did I
go.
freeze? I'm
No,
back.
you're back.
Okay, so I was talking about
Authentic relating.
yes,
Yeah.
and how it changed my life, and because I love people and I love relating with people, and it gave me tools to own my experience and being able to express my experience. So therefore, being more in tune with my needs, being more in tune with the assumptions that I make. And it has helped me with my parents big time, with my family in general, with my relationships with my friends. And I've been able to deepen the connection because I've been able to express myself better. Before, when someone asked me, okay, what do you feel? It was a very difficult question for me to express with words what was going on inside. And it's why I was always dancing. Dancing was my way of expressing. But with authentic relating, I've found the keys, the tools to express myself better and to listen better to people as well. So I'm very, very excited to share all my favorite things, basically all my
Yeah,
favorite
I
things.
mean, essentially we created an itinerary that, gives a lot of introductions and samples to many different kinds of modalities that can improve and heal. And, you could do a whole retreat about authentic relating or breath work and ecstatic dance. And Clem has done those retreats as well. And so, yeah, this is kind of a beautiful sampler where you get to try out a lot of different modalities and ways in which, you might find breakthroughs and insights and transformation, and discover, what you want more of and are interested in. You can, hopefully, find your next retreat, based on what was the most transformative experience for you in this one. And then alongside, these workshops and dance and play shops, we also, of course, are going to do plenty of exploring in the region around us. So you're not going to be just at the retreat center 24/7. Most days we'll be taking you out for some excursions. We'll be visiting the Whale's Tail, the Bahia Baiana National Park. It's a beautiful, like, white sand beach, and you'll be able to go and just have a really lovely beach day. Who wants to come to Costa Rica and not have a beach day? So we'll also be visiting Nayaka Waterfall, which is a stunning waterfall. It's almost hard to capture it in a photo. And there's two falls, the upper and lower, and yeah, we'll have a few hours, plenty of time to really drop into that stunning place. And also the Manuel Antonio National Park that I mentioned earlier is one of the most, the best places in Costa Rica to spot wildlife. And we'll be going with a specialist wildlife naturalist guide, which changes the experience completely. If you go on your own, maybe you'll see some things. If you go with this guide, you're going to spot dozens of creatures that you had no idea were watching you or just over there in the tree. So it's a great excursion to get to see a lot of wildlife in their habitat. And then, yeah, the waterfalls around Uvita and the retreat center, there's plenty of time. We'll have free time sprinkled in. That's one thing I actually didn't mention, is that a lot of our itineraries, we're very mindful to not pack your day 24/7 from morning to night. We like to make sure you have some downtime, some free time to really absorb and process the experiences, as well as, go off on your own little adventures that might be in the area. And then we also have a community partner excursion, which I'll talk about in a second. So here you can see the waterfall, the beaches, the river, the forest, the wildlife. This is what you'll be surrounded by and what we'll be tapping into and exploring outside of the retreat center. And our cuisine at the retreat center is, you'll have all your meals included, 3 meals a day plus snacks. The meals are plant-based. You do have the option to add local fish if you so inclined for a little upcharge. The cuisine is almost, entirely organic, but not quite. Maybe there's a few, ingredients here and there that they couldn't quite source organically, but almost entirely organic, all local, all seasonal, and then sustainable eggs as well on top of the plant-based meals. Lots of tropical fruits and varieties of, veggies and smoothies. And hopefully you'll, come away with learning about at least a few fruits that you never heard of before. And yeah, really high class quality chefs that are preparing the meals, catering to dietary restrictions. If you have any, just let us know. We're pretty good about accommodating most dietary restrictions, and some tasty surprises thrown in there throughout the week as well. Our community partner for this trip is a local wildlife sanctuary that's run fully on donations. They have a 24/7 veterinary clinic, and their goal and mission is to recover and release native animals whenever it's whenever possible. And of course, there are times when animals cannot be released back into the wild due to the fact they've either been fairly too domesticated or injured. So yeah, we'll visit the sanctuary and get to meet a lot of the animals that they have residents, and learn more just about the wildlife in general in Costa Rica and about what they do. So we're really excited to partner with them and visit with them. So in general for Costa Rica, some packing tips, especially in this region: warm summer weather, comfortable clothes, good shoes. Flip-flops are great a lot of the time, but for hiking, you'll want something a little, a hiking sandal works for some people if you need more ankle support, you know, some better trekking shoes are helpful. Water shoes are really good for a lot of people. It's, you know, when you're in the rivers and waterfalls, if you don't want to be barefoot, if you want a little more traction, and if you don't, want to deal with the rough rocks or stones or pebbles, water shoes are really recommended. Debit and credit cards are accepted, although having some colones on hand is good for small purchases. Tipping is 10% is already included at your bill at restaurants, drivers and guides, and, you know, tourism activities. You know, you can give a few dollars per excursion or around 10%, whatever makes sense. In the Uvita area, it's very walkable, as we mentioned. There's local taxis as well if you need to get a little bit further. In the larger cities, like in San Jose, when you're coming and going in out of San Jose, there are Uber exists there, so you can tap into that. Just trying to fly through some of these last slides because we're approaching the hour and I don't want to go much over that. So our trip in June is June 23rd through 29th. Anyone attending or viewing this recording is eligible for a $200 off discount, which must be booked by the 15th of this month, so in about 10 days. The discount code is there. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, on our website, traversejourneys.com, you can find all the details for the trip there and sign up. And now I would like to open it up for questions. So if anyone has any questions about Costa Rica in general or this retreat and itinerary specifically, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I know we have just a few people with us, so no pressure if there's no questions. Most people will probably be viewing this after the fact. If you do have any questions that come up, anything at all, you can email me, Laura, at traversejourneys.com. You can also reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook. And that brings us to the end of our Travel to Costa Rica online virtual event. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, Clementine.
Thank you.
Really looking forward to collaborating with you on this retreat, and and really looking forward to what it will bring to the participants who come along and join us. We have already sold quite a few spots in our early bird specials. So I do expect that this retreat will get close to, you know, a dozen people or more. You know, it's always encouraged to sign up sooner rather than later. And especially with that discount, we hope you can join us. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of your day.
Oh, thank you so much.